I don't want to kill the suspense. Everyone's still wondering what that sin is. But anyway, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. So thank you, Rose, for that introduction. Of course, we're talking today, with God's grace, about the sin of. Starts with a P, ends with an E. Right, very good. Right. You're going to have to be more awake from that today. Cool. Alright, so that's the verse of today. So I like to have a verse today. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. When I first started looking at this topic, the first thing, and growing up as well, the first thing you think about in your life is, I'm not proud. I've never been proud. I don't think I'll ever be proud. We follow Christ, who is meek, who is humble, who loves humility, and despises people who are proud. So why would I be proud? The reality is, as Rose was saying, and as we all know, the origin of sin is pride. Pride is what brought down who? Which angel? Lucifer, right? The first sin. Pride is what made Adam and Eve turn away from God. Okay? They had it all. And they turned away because of pride. But what does it mean to be proud? To be proud means that you think you're better than other people. To be proud means you blaspheme, and you all know what blaspheme means. To be proud means if something good happens in your life, you attribute it to yourself. It is me who did that, not God who did it to me. If there's something else that happens to someone else, and you have a hand in it, look, because I helped you, this is what's happened. You're attributing everything to yourself. That is what the proud man does, or the proud woman does. Another mistake we make in our lives is sometimes we grow and fight spiritually. So obviously we've all got challenges in life, we've all got temptations that we face. And sometimes what we think is, because I'm fighting, I'm struggling, I'm fighting the good fight spiritually, that means I'm not going to get attacked by pride. In fact, it's people who actually fight the good fight. It's people who have the spiritual battles that are more likely to be attacked by pride. One of the church fathers said something really interesting about pride. They said, it is a crafty spiritual illness. Crafty spiritual illness. It brought down an archangel. It brought down our father Adam. It brought down popes. It brought down priests. It brought down laymen. It brought down everything. Saints even. Right? A lot of sins, when you think about it, they're a bit easier to control. So if you've got the sin of gluttony, you like to eat, how do you work on that sin? You fast, right? If you suffer maybe from sexual immorality, you try a life of purity, right? If you suffer from the sin of the gift of the gab and you're always saying things you shouldn't be saying, you practice being quiet. Pride is a really hard sin to control. And the reason pride is really hard to control is the first step to getting rid of something is acknowledging you've got it. And the proud person doesn't see that. The proud person, there's a saying which says the proud person is like a commander who goes around a castle, right? And when he's destroyed the castle, he wants to rock it to its foundation. That commander going around is the devil. That foundation or that castle is us, right? And when Satan gets a hold, he destroys everything within us. Right? So it's very important for us to first be aware that there is a sin called pride, and number two, it is a fight, it is a labour, and it's one we're going to fight our entire life here on earth. As we go through life, as we go through different stages of our life, we fight different temptations and we fight different battles. Of course, and I like to be included in this conversation, we're all in our youth at the moment. So there's certain temptations, things, as we go through the different latter stages of life, there's a different set of temptations. The one consistent thing we're going to be fighting all our life is pride. Consistently. From the moment you are growing up till the moment you breathe your last. In fact, till the moment, obviously you go to heaven or somewhere else. So paradise is obviously where we want to go. But now that we've kick-started the conversation on pride, there's a couple of questions that we sort of, the way to find out if you've got pride or not is to examine and probe yourself. We have to examine ourselves. If we don't do that examination, we won't know if we've got it or not. We'll never see whether we've got pride in us or not. So a couple of questions to ask yourself. When someone praises you, what is your feeling? Do you feel proud? Do you feel happy? When someone rebukes you, what do you feel against them? Right? When someone gives you instructions, how far are you prepared to obey those instructions? Do you think you know better than the person who gives you the instructions? It's funny, you talk to people and they say, churches do this, I'll obey. Fast, we'll fast. Okay? Then fast, intermittent, oh no, I can't do that. That's a step too far. Come to church for the gospel? Yeah, I've come to church. Why do you tell me to come for the gospel for? I've already come to church. We all have our limits around obedience. The humble person obeys without limits. Okay? Obeys without limits. The other one is instructions, advice. Especially when we're younger, especially now sometimes, we take the advice of others and say, I know better. In fact, that's what society preaches now. Society looks at you and says, you look around, you're free to do what you want anytime. Right? There is no consequences. Their concept of freedom is a flawed freedom. And that propagates to us, and we think we know better than everyone else. I have this problem at home with my son. It's like, why do I have to listen to you, old man? You know what I mean? So, what do you know that I don't? And this problem is bigger now because of the internet. In my day, and Bruno will attest to this, we had to go to this Encyclopedia Britannica, which Mum used to have at home. We used to have this big thing that Mum bought for us. And if you want to get information, you've got to go and scour the pages and go to the library. Now it's all available on the fingertip. You know what I mean? So the world is moving at a rapid pace now, to the point that, people who are younger think that they know everything because of the advent of the internet. Right? The other one here is, the other question we should be asking ourselves is, if you surpass someone in terms of education, in terms of knowledge, in terms of position, what are your feelings towards this individual? Is it, I'm better than you? Is it, I've achieved things because of me that you've never been able to achieve? What is our feelings towards that? And hopefully now that we've started the conversation, we can now talk about the reality of this sin called pride. So the teacher, Oregon, has got a really good saying about this in his book called The Principles. He says, one might ask which sin is the greatest. It is obviously believed that the greatest sin is adultery, impurity, or any other defilement resulting from desire. It is true, these sins are ugly and terrible, but they are not like the sin which the Holy Bible denounces and counts as the greatest of sins. Without doubt, it is the one which caused the downfall of the devil. And what is this sin which echoes such greatest? Pride, arrogance, and exaltation. It is the devil's sin. Because of it, he fell from heaven to earth as God resists the proud. God resists the proud. This is the devil's sin. This is what brought about the downfall of an archangel. Right? The other thing about pride, which is quite interesting, is pride is known as the mother of all sins. Why? Because it spawns a lot of other sins. When you're proud, that leads to many other things. It leads to anger. It leads to lying. It leads to not showing your true colours. Right? A very funny story someone was telling me about pride was when you were younger, you got those boxes of chocolates that you wanted to sell to all these people. So 3 or 4 people were trying to sell, and they're competing with each other to see who can sell the most amount of box of chocolates. So there was a street where they were selling all this, and number 12 had this really old guy who was really stroppy, who never bought a thing in his life. So this guy wanting to be the best seller, he knocked on door 10, he sold a couple of chocolates. He knocked on door 12, which is where the problem was, and the guy went, what do you want? He goes, look, I just want to let you know, your neighbours are basically saying that you're really tight and you never ever bought anything in your life. So this guy, out of his pride, he bought the entire box of chocolates that this kid has. So this kid goes, this is good. He went to the next door, said the same thing. And he ended up selling all his boxes of chocolates. Why? Because he preyed on this guy's pride. Okay? That's not a good thing to do, by the way, but anyway. So this particular sin spawns many other sins. Okay? Also, this sin, think of it as a tower where all other sins barricade themselves. They all protect themselves by this sin. The person who's proud, he will never admit to a mistake, or she will never admit to a mistake. Because admitting to a mistake is a sign of weakness. The proud person does not show weakness. The proud person, even if they know they've done the wrong thing, they will never admit that. You also find with the proud person that if you're sitting with them, that they're the expert of all things, And also, they never stop talking. And they never stop talking because they want to show they know everything and not to give you an opportunity to probe. So the proud person, I'm generalizing of course, but the proud person never admits weakness, never admits defeat, and knows everything better than everyone else. Okay? It's a stubborn sin, okay? To the point that there's a story around Saint Macarius, and we all know who Saint Macarius is, and he was basically, the devil of vainglory was trying to basically say, you've defeated me, Macarius. Your whole life you've been abstinent, you've stayed away from sin, etc. And as his soul was departing from his body, this devil came to him and said, look, you've defeated me, Macarius. That's it, you're done. Well done. The devil of vainglory. And he would not listen to him. And finally, after he got to the gate of heaven, he said to him, by the grace of God, you have been defeated. By the grace of God, you have been defeated. This is Saint Macarius. This is one of the greatest saints in the church. And yet the devil was ramping up the efforts and trying to fight him in his virtues. Okay? And trying to bring his downfall as part of his virtues. The sin of pride is also very hard to distinguish. It gets you if you're down and it gets you if you're up. It gets you if you're wearing really good clothes, it gets you if you're wearing really bad clothes. It gets you if you're fasting, it gets you if you're not fasting. If you're fasting, you're saying, oh, how good are you, Philo? You've been fasting non-stop, that's unbelievable. And if you're not fasting, it looks at you and says, hey, what are you doing? You're not fasting? There's always ups and downs. It targets both sides. It's very hard. If you're wearing really good clothes, it says, look at you, you're looking very special today. And if you're targeting bad clothes, oh, how humble. You are so humble. You're doing really well. Look at that humility. You're reeking of humility. And that's the sin of pride. The pride gets you both ways. Okay? It's like, I was reading about it. It's like, think of a cat. You can throw a cat from wherever, and the cat always lands on its feet. Right? It's the same with pride. You come at it from different directions, it's going to find a way to weasel its way into your life. Right? The other very interesting thing about pride is some sins, right? Some of the sins that we do, we hide. We're very good at hiding. Right? But with pride, we don't hide it. The person who's proud wants that glory, wants that vanity, they don't know that they're proud, so they don't see that. The other thing is, if you notice this, people who get drunk or people who do the wrong thing, they like hanging out with their own. Right? You see them all hanging together, maybe doing the wrong thing or hanging together in places they shouldn't be hanging together. But the person who's proud, you see them hanging with everyone else? No. Why? I did that. I want the glory. I'm the one that the devil of vainglory wants to give all the commendos to, all the kudos to. Right? That person wants to be on their own. Why? Because they can't see what's happening. Because almost what's happened is the devil's put this veil on them. They can't see what's happening. They can't see the pride in them. Right? So let's come back to the origin of sin. Very simple maths equation for the mathematicians in the room. Being close to God equals loving God. Right? Being close to God equals loving God. Being away from God, do we love God? No? It means we dislike God. Okay? It means we say, God, I don't need you. God, I don't want you in my life. God, I forsake you. So if we really believe God gave us life, God gave us everything that we do, everything that we have, everything we ever achieve, how can we forsake it? Through pride. Abandoning God, leaving God is pride. The origin of sin is pride. Being away from God equals disliking God equals pride. And pride in God's eyes is not just thinking we're better than everyone else. Pride in God's eyes is not just thinking, we're above everyone. Pride is actually forsaking God. Pride is looking through a lens of saying, I am it. I am everything in life. I know better than you, God. I don't need you, God. I can live my entire life without you, God. It says in Revelation, if we show ourselves proud, we are wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. Wretched, miserable, poor, blind, and naked. Right? So what does pride do? So let's go through what pride does in our lives. So pride is like a thief who comes in and steals the glory that is meant for God. It says in Isaiah 42, I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory I will not give to one another. And during Passion Week, what do we say? To you is the what? Power, glory, honor, blessings. To you. Not to me, to you. So, what was the verse for today? And gives grace to the humble. Very good. Now let's examine that a bit more. So God hates the sin more than any other. Okay? God resists the proud. He not only resists the sin, he resists the individual. Right? And what does he do to the humble? He gives a blessing. He gives grace. It's a double whammy. Okay? Of course, God by his nature hates all sin. Right? But God resists the proud person, the individual themselves. And not only that, he gives grace to the one who is humble. Bad news to the proud. Bad news. And there's some very bad consequences as well to the people who are proud. Or having pride in our lives leads to some negative consequences. The first thing is, don't think that God will, with his divine grace, live inside of us if we're proud. That will depart from it. The first thing that we'll lose is the grace of God in our lives. And the grace of God in our lives, you can look at me and say, yeah, Eddie, this is an everyday problem. This is a problem we're all facing, but the saints never faced this problem. Well, let me tell you, Arius, the priest, Arius, who was really well known in the church, he faced the problem. The divine grace of God departed from him. Nestor, the Pope of Constantinople, same problem, departed from him. Right? So it's indistinguishing. It hits priests, it hits saints, it hits servants, it hits individuals, it hits men, it hits women, it hits kids, it hits old people, it hits everyone. It's an indistinguishable sin. Right? It doesn't distinguish who it hits. Now, when we start having pride in our lives, not only do we not want to talk to God, not only do we not look at what God wants us to do, but we also despise his word. I know better. I'm not listening to what you're telling me. I know what I want to hear and I'm going to hear it. I exalt myself above the word of God. And what you then find with people who are proud is they lose that mercy, they lose that compassion in their lives, right? Because everything's about them. They don't care about the plight of the people who don't have food. They don't care about the farmers who haven't got anything in their lives. Their entire life is revolving around them. Their ecosystem, their world is just them. Okay? The whole world revolves around them. They're the center of their universe. Who's the center of our universe? Is it us? Is it God? Is it our material possessions? Is it where we want to be in life? What's the center of our world? Pride also does a lot of other things. I mean, one of the things we all know is when you're a proud person, you find it hard to forgive. You find it hard when someone fights you to say that you're the wrong person, you're the weaker person, because admitting that is a sign of weakness. So what we usually find is the proud person wants to be the one that's always right. And if me and any of you are having a fight and we're both pride, guess what? Are we ever going to reconcile? No. Because reconciling means what? Someone's got to bite their tongue, break their pride, live in humility, and go and apologize to the other person. And it's a two-way street, because if I go and apologize to you and you don't accept my apology, I've done my bit, but the reconciling is not there because the other person's kept their pride. Right? So magnify that and talk about people, magnify that and talk about countries, magnify that and talk about even in families. Pride's destroyed so many families, pride's destroyed so many marriages, pride has destroyed so many lifelong friends. Why? Is it worth it? In 20 years' time, is anyone going to care? After we pass away and our names are just memories, is anyone going to care? The famous father once said, if we can't reconcile our differences here on earth, how are we going to coexist together in heaven? How? How? You know? The proud person, you know, it is a two-way street, but the first step we've got to do is we've got to be humble in our lives. We've got to reconcile those differences, because at the end of the day, it's not going to count. It's not going to matter. So be humble. Bite your pride down. Fix things, right? And I'm the first to learn from that, by the way, but as you grow older, I think hopefully you start getting a bit wiser around some of that stuff. But the thing is, you have to be self-aware around this stuff as well. If you don't examine yourself, if you don't probe, you're not going to see that. Right? The proud person wants to be big and great in everything that they do. They want to be number one. They want to be the person who's shown in front of everyone. You know, the proud person will take credit for things which they have not done. You know, like, you know, in my work, for example, you know, we all work on projects together, but the proud person will stand up and say, I'm the one who did it. The humble person will sit in the background, and then the proud person will take all the credit. And the proud person is really smart, because if the whole thing goes pear-shaped, guess whose fault it was? Not mine, it was theirs. Right? That's the proud person. But it says in Luke 14:11, for whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and whoever humbles himself will be exalted. Right? Now, if we perfect all our virtues, and we've all got virtues in one way or another, but we do that with pride, so we've all got virtues, but if we do that with pride, God will reject them. God will not accept a virtue with pride. There's a good saying which basically says, it's like frankincense, but mixed with dirt and dust. Frankincense, which on its own smells really nice, but with dirt and dust. Guess what the end product's going to be? Something it's not going to smell nice, and it's not going to be nice for your eyes either. So what leads us, so just some examples of some of the mighty who have fallen because of pride. So the first example, and this was really good, I was thinking about this the other day. Pharaoh in Egypt, right? Pharaoh was a god to the Egyptians at the time. He was a god. They looked at it as a god. Here is Pharaoh with Moses and all the Israelite slaves, and he's looking at them going, I'm a god. You guys are not going to be able to do anything with me. What did God do? He used Moses and Aaron, and he struck him down with curses. Okay? What did he use to strike him down? Did he use a natural disaster? Did he use a dangerous beast? Did he use a large animal like a pack of lions? What did he strike him down with? Frogs? Locusts? Small animals. Why? To teach him humility. To say the proud will always be broken. And if you look, there's a lot of people who have gone through the same boat. Peter, the great disciple, okay, when he denied Christ, who did he deny him in front of? A servant girl. Not a king, not a congregation, a servant girl. Goliath, the big, strong, 6 foot whatever man, undefeatable, everyone was scared to fight him. Who beat him? An army? A small shepherd boy with a piece of rock. A small shepherd boy with a piece of rock. But who did he have on his side? God. Because God gives grace to the humble. Another example. Which king cut off John the Baptist's head? Herod. How did Herod die? He listened to some people thinking, comparing him to a god, and he said, wow, he started to think of himself as a god. He fell dead on the spot there at the time, and it says worms ate him. Worms. This is the person who compared himself to God. How the mighty are fallen, how the proud are defeated. So what leads us to pride? There's a number of things that lead us to pride. Now, not all these reasons are reasons why pride will come along, but these are reasons why the devil can fight us with pride. Number one, personal causes. So if you're naturally good looking, if you're intelligent, you think you're intelligent, if you're strong physically, the devil can use that. And the devil can say, oh, look at you. You know, or you can think to yourself, man, am I looking good today? You know? Or man, I've done really well in this exam and it's because of me. Or look at these sessions at the gym. Look how they're working out. I'm investing into myself and I'm growing. And what we forget is, this is something we've put in zero effort in. This is something we were born in. Who did this come from? God. Who can take it away? God. He can take it away in the twinkle of an eye. Right? In fact, there's been people who have counted on their, how smart they are and how good they are, and they've ended up in mental institutions, right? Because they counted on themselves. Today, obviously, we've also on the news the death of Aretha Franklin. Aretha Franklin had a great voice, right? These are all talents given to us by God. He's going to come back at the end of time and say, what have you done with these talents? I gave you the talent, I gave you the looks, I gave you the intelligence. What did you do to me with those talents? What did you give God's kingdom? Did you bring other people closer to God with these talents? Or did you use them all for yourselves? Or did you do like the guy with one talent and buried it into the ground and said, sorry God? What did we do with it? And at the end of time, when we're in front of God on that fearful judgment day, when all the things we have is stripped away, God is going to look at our inner heart and say, what have you done with all that? What have you used your talents for? Have you used them for your own purposes? Has your pride taken control of you? Or have you used them for me? Has your humility taken control? So number one we talked about was personal causes. Number two, worldly causes.